Hey guys, welcome back. So in the last video we created our class, we created our main method, and I briefly went over method definition and how to define a method. Basically I said that the public keyword means that this is accessible to in a class outside of this one's parent class. Static means that the memory is already allocated for this. This exists at compile time. I don't have to create a new instance of main for this to exist. And void is the return type of the method. Void means that this isn't going to return any value, it's just going to do something. What I didn't go over was this little thing, this little parameter here, this string something args. Well, that something is called an array. Those brackets define an array. And I didn't go over that because I haven't gotten a chance to go over variable declaration yet and how we do that in Java, or even what those data types we have might even be. So we're going to do that in this video. So hopefully this parameter makes a little bit more sense to you, but the purpose of this video isn't for that parameter to make sense to you. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to these data types and how we define them. So in Python, let's say I had an integer x, or excuse me, let's say I had a variable x, right? I could say x is equal to 5, and then I could say, yo, x is equal to hey. And that's totally illegal in Python, right? We can't do that in Java. We can't say, yo, I have this variable here, it's an integer, and then all of a sudden it's a string, and it doesn't work like that. In Java, we have to explicitly tell the compiler what type of data type that x is, what data type x is, or what data types our variables are. So if I wanted an integer variable, right? If I wanted x to be an integer, I'd have to say, yo, integer or int x is equal to 5. And then I put this little semicolon here. And what the semicolon is it's how you end a statement in Java. Every statement, every programming statement you make has to end with a semicolon. If it doesn't, it's going to throw an error. As we can see, like I just took that semicolon off. There's an error here, and we could also see up here in the corner, we could see the compiler 3 errors already. This won't compile unless we have that semicolon there. A lot of people that are new to Java have trouble with that semicolon. They'll forget it because, you know, they'll be in the middle of like this programming mode, and you know, they'll be finger blasting the keyboard, and in the blaze of that programming glory, they'll forget a semicolon, and they spend the next 20 minutes trying to locate where it's at because they just got done writing, you know, 400 lines of code or whatever. It's very tedious, but I think you'll grow to appreciate it the more you program in Java. So anyways, so that's how we would declare an integer variable. We say, first thing we do in variable declaration is say what type of variable is it. This one's of the primitive data type int. What's the name of the variable? Well, it's x, and it's equal to, and then it's this type. I can't say int x is equal to the string hey, because it's expecting an integer, and what I'm trying to give it is hey, and that's not legal in the eyes of Java. So we have to make sure that what we're giving it matches what type we're declaring it as. Alright, so now let's say I wanted a string variable, right? And I wanted it to be my first name. So to do that, we define what type it is. It's going to be a type string. And then I'd name it, I'd say first name, and then it's equal to the string Adam, right? And then I'd end it with that semicolon, very important. One thing I want to note is that if you look at the string variable here, the string here, it starts with a capital letter, and it's not highlighted orange, meaning it's not a reserved keyword like int is over here. Well, that's because string is what's called a complex data type, and I don't want to get too much into what that means or what that entails because this is still an introductory video, and I don't want to just like throw all this information at you about every little thing that I can. But for now, what I want you to notice is that string is the only data type for right now that we're going to access using a capital S. So remember that. Also, in method and variable naming convention in Java, the first word is lowercase, and every word after that starts with a capital letter. That's called camel casing. So, you know, my variable name, first name here, the first word is first, and the second word is name. So first is lowercase, and name starts with a capital N. So we're going to follow that convention in all videos from here on out. So anyways, so we got over string. Another textual-based data type I want to go over is what's called a character. And we define that by saying char, or char, or however you want to pronounce it. I don't really care. But it's char, and then we'll name it, so it's of the data type character, and then we'll call it character. and it's going to be equal to, and then we use single quotes to define a character, and then we place a character in there. And what a character basically is think of it as a string of size 1, of length 1. It can only be one character. It's a character. It can only be one character long. So I can't say, you know, AA. I can't say, you know, AB, because that's 2. I could just say A, or a B, or a capital B, or a tilde, or an exclamation mark, or whatever. I could say it's equal to 4, right? But if I say it's equal to 4, one thing I want to note is that this is the character 4. This isn't the number 4. We can't use that as a number in any way. It's the letter 4, basically. I'll get into typecasting in a few videos from now where I'll say, yeah, we can treat that as a number. But for now, understand that this is the character 4, not the number. Alright, so I went over, and I remember I touched on that string is a complex data type. Well, integer, and we're going to go over a few more, they're what's called a primitive data type. And they're reserved with the keywords with their respective data type, like this one's int, that's why it's orange. So we have ints, integers in Python. What else do we have in Python with respect to numbers? We have floats, right? A floating point number. A floating point number is a number with a decimal, right? So let's go ahead and try to create one in Java real quick. We'll say floating number is equal to 1.5, right? And we'll end it. Well, we're getting an error. Why are we getting an error? Let's look. Required float found double. What does that mean? Well, in Java, we have 2 different data types that deal with decimal numbers. We have a float, which has a precision of 32 bits, 2 to the 32nd power, with decimals. And then we have what's called a double, which has the precision of 64 bits, so 2 to the 64th power. And when we encounter a decimal number by itself like that, by default it's encountered and it's treated as a double. Excuse me. So when we encounter a decimal by itself like that, it's treated as a double point number. To treat that as a floating point number, to treat it as a float, we include an F at the end. And what that's going to do is going to tell the compiler, yo, this decimal number is a float, not a double. So with that, how do we create a double? Well, it's probably like you'd expect. We say double, you know, double number is equal to 1.5. And we leave it at that. And that's how we create a double. So most of the time what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using ints and doubles. Where appropriate, you want to use a float because you want to use the least amount of memory as possible. But we're not going to be talking about memory management or anything like that anytime soon. So that's just so that you guys can see what's going on. Alright, so now I want to explain real quick what this array thing is up here. I want you guys to understand kind of what this means. So let's see, I got 2 minutes. So in Python we have lists, right? I can say my list is equal to you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Well, in Java we have something very similar to a list. It's called an array, and we create an array by saying we have to first determine what kind of array it is, because an array is basically a list of elements, but we have to determine what kind of array it is. So if I want an array or a list of I don't know, names, I'd say it would be of string, right? So I'd say string, and then I put those brackets, which means a string array, or a list of the string type, or array of the string type to be 100% politically correct. And then I'd name it, so I'd say, you know, names, and then is equal to, and this is going to seem a little new at first, no pun intended, new string array, and I'll explain what this is a lot more in depth in another video, but basically we're creating a new string array object, and we're going to populate it with these braces, and we say, you know, I'll populate with Adam, and then Jessica, and then, you know, girlfriend that I don't have, and then we'll end it. So basically what that does is it creates a list of string variables inside of this variable called names, and it's array. It's a string array, and basically inside of a method parameter in Python, if I wanted to define a method parameter, I'd say, you know, def function, and I'd say, you know, x and y as my parameters, right? Well, in Java we have to determine what data type that you pass into the method parameter, what argument you give it. In this parameter, I'm saying, yo, this argument, whatever you pass to me, has to be a string array. You can't call main and pass in an integer. You can't call main and pass in anything else. You have to give me this array, and I'm going to stop saying list from now on. Just understand lists are basically arrays. You have to give me an array of strings, basically, when you call me. It's mandatory. So basically, that's what that means up there. So I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I hope that made a little bit of sense to you guys. We talked about the basics of creating variables, and hopefully you understand a little bit of what that means up there. It's basically just saying, hey, when you call me, you have to give me a list of strings, or an array of strings. So yeah, hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.